Hi everybody. I want to narrate this PowerPoint for you just to help you with some understanding of theories and so forth that you read about in your text this week. Understanding what theories inform our teaching and learning beliefs. Teaching is influenced by theory. Our teaching methods are driven by what we believe about the purposes of education and how learning is achieved. And you read about that in the beginning of your text, that here are some of the purposes of education. To produce an educated workforce, to compete globally, to post high scores on standardized tests, to teach the basics, to develop character, to instill patriotism, to transmit cultural knowledge, and to fix society. And so it may be a combination of these things in which you believe. And in that case, there's going to be a combination of theories that are going to inform your philosophies of education. So there are two basic models here, and one is teacher-centered, the other is student or learner-centered, and I'm going to parse those two out later on in the PowerPoint, but for now I'm kind of putting them together. So we learned a lot of isms in this chapter. So teacher-centered is essentialism, perennialism, and behavioralism. Student or learning-centered education believes in progressivism, social reconstructivism, existentialism, constructivism, and critical pedagogy. So what does that mean? So teacher-centered theories, and here are some of the theorists. There's Locke, who coined the phrase tabula rasa, where individuals are blank slates on which teachers write knowledge. And in this type of a classroom, students come to school to be filled with knowledge from an expert other. The teacher is the holder of all knowledge, and he or she imparts that knowledge on children. It's very much like Freire's banking theory of education, where you show up every day for your daily deposit of information. And then we have the behaviorists, the conditioning. Pavlov, you know about with Pavlov's dogs, and so if when you rang the bell, the dog salivated. And you train people to do what you want them to do by providing these stimuli. Skinner also believed in operant conditioning, that individuals are conditioned to respond. Thorndike and Watson with behavioralism. Learners form connections between a stimulus and a response, and learning and behavior controlled by experience. It's very close. And if you look at the way our schools are set up, it's very much a behaviorist atmosphere, where there's punishments and rewards. So if you do something wrong, you're going to be punished. And the idea is that if you get punished enough times, you're going to stop doing it. We know that doesn't always happen. So those are the teacher-centered theories. So what does this teacher-centered classroom look like? Again, the teacher is the focus. He or she is the sage on the stage. The teacher talks, the students listen. Students work individually. There's not very much collaboration going on. It's very much an individualistic pursuit. The teacher monitors students' work and corrects that work. Teacher answers students' questions. It's a teacher who has the knowledge, not others in the room. The teacher chooses the topics and the curriculum. It's the same curriculum for all. The teacher evaluates when the classroom is silent. So the teacher-centered model has sometimes been called the factory model or the assembly line model. It's didactic. It's sit, get, and spit. The emphasis is on teachers filling students with knowledge and students being able to regurgitate that knowledge. Now, see if I can get this video to work for you. It may not work here, but I'm going to try. Oh, I think it will. Well, okay, here we go. Possibly. All right, so here's a little video about the factory model of education.
There's a lot of conversation now that is centered around the model of education that we have not seeming to fit us as human organic beings. And one way of looking at it is to say that we have a factory production model of education, and that doesn't work because we're actually not widgets. And the two factors that have created the system we have, coming together are the behaviorism model, which is people will only do what they're reinforced to do or punished not to do, and that Taylor was right in that everything can be broken down into small bits and done individually. You don't have to understand how things come together because it's more productive if you just do what you're told. And those things were somewhat okay when the back door of the school led to the front door of the factory. When what we were doing was producing workers for the industrial economy. Well, we've moved out of the industrial economy and we've moved into the knowledge age, and we've actually are moving out of the knowledge age into the concept age. Yet we are still largely educating for a factory model. And we need to move beyond that.
Okay, back to our PowerPoint. Okay, so student-centered theories. Piaget, Dewey, Bruner, and Freire. So Piaget had these developmental stages of child development. Dewey had believed in this learning by doing, where you got in thing and did things. You experienced things. Bruner had this idea of constructivism, learning through observation of others and collaboration with others. And then Freire really espoused this critical pedagogy, this social justice agenda where we strengthen democracy and we foster critical thinking. Freire was jailed for his radical ideas about education in Brazil, spent several years in jail for that. And even today, his theories are often seen as, what's the word I want? Politically charged. In fact, his works were banned in Arizona when the curriculum there became very politicized. So we have to think about these student-centered theories about students where we focus, instead of on the teacher, we're focusing on the student and what the student can do and how we get that student to certain phases. So what does this kind of a classroom look like? Well, the teacher and the students are partners in learning. But the teachers have a deep understanding of learning theories and use those theories where they need to. The teacher is a facilitator and a resource rather than the sage on the stage. He or she may be an expert other and have a great deal of knowledge, but the teacher, instead of telling the student, facilitates that student's learning to gain that information. There's collaborative learning and there's construction of meaning. Increased responsibility and accountability on the part of the students. One of the problems with the teacher-centered classroom is that the students don't have a lot of responsibility for learning. The teacher is giving it all to them, so they don't have to do a whole awful lot to construct that knowledge. But student involvement and participation is necessary in the student-centered classroom. Otherwise, it becomes a teacher-centered classroom. I'm not going to show you this particular video. I'm going to let you look at it on your own on that PowerPoint. This PowerPoint is up there. But this is a video of a teacher who is moving towards student-centeredness. Isn't quite there, but is moving towards it. So when you watch this, you'll see that he's trying to move towards not being the sage on the stage, but allowing the children to learn this material through collaboration and cooperation. The way they learn. If a child can't learn the way we teach, maybe we should teach the way they learn. One of the problems with the teacher-centered classroom is that the onus of responsibility for learning is on the student. While we don't give them a lot of responsibility for constructing knowledge, we expect them to take everything that we've given them and be able to teach it and to learn it. And if they don't, it's their fault. It's not the teacher's fault because the teacher's done his or her work. It's the student's work for not being able to do it. So learning-centered theories, and this is where Dewey and Bruner cross over, with the learn by doing and the constructivism. But this is also where Vygotsky comes in, with the social development and the ZPD. So the zone of proximal development is really, really important because this is where social interaction is critical between a teacher and a student. So Vygotsky and the ZPD. So the zone of proximal development is the place where learning takes place. If you already know something and you're asked to do it, and you can easily do it without any assistance, you are actually in the zone of actual development. Oftentimes in our schools, we give students work to do they can already do, and it becomes busy work, and they get bored, and why do I have to do this? I've done this before. There is value to practicing, but you can only practice so much, then it becomes repetitive. And so we have to be mindful of where students are. And then the opposite can happen too, that we can give students work they can't do because they're not in the place where they have enough background knowledge or information or skill to do that particular task. And that's just frustration for a student and for a teacher. So guided learning in the model of graduate release looks like this. I do, you watch, okay? And then I do and you help me. And this is not linear. Might have to keep going back and forth again. I do, you watch. And we have to do that several times with lots of questions and conversation going on before the student is allowed to help. Okay? And once the student starts helping, there's going to be some missteps, and a teacher's going to have to support that student to learn that. But there comes a point where this is the gradual release of responsibility. All right, so you've got this. Now you do it, and I'll help you. And again, there may be some missteps here, and you have to kind of go back to that other step. But finally, the student is going to be able to do it, and you're going to watch it, and he or she's going to do it independently. So this is moving from assistance to independence. This is crucial in everything that we do in teaching our students. So what does a learning center classroom look like? Well, the focus is on the students and the teacher. The teacher models rather than tells. Students work in pairs, groups, or alone depending on the task. It's not just all one or the other. Students talk without constant teacher monitoring. Teacher provides feedback and correction when questions arise. This is key. Teacher isn't always interjecting his or her thoughts. And I'm always saying, that's wrong, or that's right. Allowing the students to have this conversation, but offering correction and feedback when needed. Students answer each other's questions using the teacher as a resource. So the teacher is not the only source of information in the classroom. Students have some choice, and students and teachers evaluate alike. And the classroom is typically noisy and busy. It's not the chairs aren't usually in straight rows, and it's not dead quiet. It's noisy and busy, and usually there's cubicles and tables, and people are gathered in groups and working together. So what is learned must be taught, and here is a little video about the zone of proximal development, and I'll let you look at this one on your own as well. I will understand. Tell me, and I will forget. This is the teaching is telling. If you just tell me, I'm going to forget it generally. You show me, and I may remember. So modeling, involve me, and I will understand. And this is that experience and constructivism at work. I just want to recap. Okay, so a teacher-centered classroom has these isms as part of it: behaviorism, essentialism, perennialism. It's curriculum-centered. It's the transmission of knowledge. Teacher and students are passive. The teacher talks, the student listens. The students memorize material for tests. The student is responsible if he or she doesn't progress and can't keep up with the curriculum, the pace of the lessons, the demands of a prescriptive school program. So the onus of responsibility on the student. If he or she can't cut it, that's it. Student-centered, on the other hand, has progressivism and extensionalism at its core, believes in the acquisition of knowledge, and believes that students have biological limits that may affect when and how they learn. And teachers don't push students beyond their limits. They meet them where they are. And this is different from the teacher-centered classroom, where the student has to meet the teacher where the teacher is. In the student-centered, the teacher is meeting the student where he or she is, knows that person's limits, but also supports that student to learn at his or her level and pace. Students are active constructors in their education. Teachers seek the environment in which learners develop. This may be different for different students. Students select topics. There's discovery learning going on here. The student is not responsible if he or she doesn't progress. It's viewed as a developmental delay, and there's often family or social conditions at fault. So in this aesthetic, the teacher recognizes that a student may have these biological limits. Learning centered is very close to that. We have the co-constructivism and social reconstructivism as the isms here. But transformation through participation. So participation in the learning process, a student is transformed and is building knowledge. The knowledge is socially and culturally constructed. He or she is not in that teacher-centered mode where he or she is getting the information from a teacher. But in a social environment, the teacher may be providing some information, but the students and the teacher are working together to construct this knowledge. Learning is not natural, but depends on interactions with expert others. We learn best in the company of others. The student is a collaborative participant. The teacher observes closely and scaffolds learning within the ZPD and matches individual and collective curricula with learners' needs and creates an inquiry environment. Very important, the scaffolding and matching individual and collective curricula with learning needs. Teacher-guided participation in small and large groups. So it's not just everybody getting all the information in one, in one sitting. Maybe some small groups, maybe some large groups. There's explicit assistance to reach higher levels of competence. If the student doesn't progress, the responsibility is with the more capable other. Sorry, I spelled with wrong. So it's the teacher's responsibility to help that student progress at a level and pace at which he or she is capable. All right, so again, theory informs teaching. So as you write your philosophy of learning and teaching, think about the theories that inform the purposes of schools as outlined in the text at the beginning of this presentation. Think about what theories inform your vision of teaching. If you were to articulate the theories that inform that, what are they? How will you incorporate that into your philosophy paper? Remember, that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. An individual teaching philosophy can be informed by many theories. Consider a theory you may not have considered before. Doesn't mean you have to adopt it, but just consider it. So, I think that's it. Yes, now I just my reference page. So that's it. I hope I've been helpful.